Coming to you live from Music City, USA, aka Nashville, Tennessee. This is the ALLAnal podcast with Sebastian Starr. I am your host, Sebastian Starr, and today we are going to be diving deep into the film adaptation from the latest project by The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow. So I got the privilege of seeing this opening weekend, which was just this past the 16th. So just this past weekend, I went to go see it with my brother, and I had pretty high hopes and borderline high expectations of what I was getting myself into as far as just the lore and everything kind of wrapping around this entire project, this entire era, if you will. And I honestly didn't expect it to be so satisfying. I thought it was going to be a little bit more depressing. Not so much depressing as far as the plot or the storyline goes, but in the realm of, this is his final farewell to his OG fans, right? If you are a fan like myself of The Weeknd and have been listening to his music since like the early 2010s, right when House of Balloons and Thursday and Echoes of Silence dropped, way before, Starboy and Beauty Behind the Madness, and before he became a trending topic, and he was still just this underground, coming from the slums type of artist, just trying to make this trippy and weird and alternative music, you feel a sense of emotional connection to the character of The Weeknd and not so much the person of Abel, who, is kind of who he's trying to rebrand himself as, just become his most authentic self. And it's emotional because you're having to say goodbye to this, iconic person, this iconic character. And, you have to come at peace with that. But with all of that even still kind of in mind, the story that was told had such a satisfying ending to it all. And it was able to kind of bring things back in full circle, ironically. And I'll get to why that's ironic here in a second. But it was very emotionally traumatizing. It was very psychologically torturous. And overall, I just had a really good time at the movies going to go see it. There wasn't really a whole lot of people in there. I went really, really early in the morning. It was like 10 a.m. or something like that. So we got there at a really good time, and we got to, critique it and talk about it and enjoy kind of the cinematic experience. And again, if you are a fan of his and you've been following him for a while, then you would know that he is very much influenced by film and cinematography. And I feel like with his push from music into, production and acting and directing and writing, he kind of is stepping into the version of himself that he kind of always wanted to step into. So with that being said, this movie had a lot of psychological Easter eggs, and it had a lot of, metaphoric and visual metaphors that kind of plays into his entire internal persona. So not as The Weeknd, but as Abel Tesfaye, which is again who he's rebranding himself as. So with all that being said, obvious spoilers for the movie. If you have not seen it, people have been talking about it on social media for the past couple of days, obviously. A lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people are saying that, his acting wasn't that good and he wasn't convincing enough. I strongly disagree. I think he did a great job acting as himself, or a character of himself in this movie. You could see in his facial expressions more than anything that he was dealing with himself internally, and it was starting to seep through the cracks externally, and it caused a lot of chaos and drama to kind of, flood around him. And it was a really moving moment throughout the movie that you can just kind of see him battling with himself. And I think that that's kind of the point. Once we get into the characters here in a second, that's all that it is an internal battle with himself that kind of brought him to where he is now, and the decisions that he's making are all based off of those influences. So for context, and again, spoilers, obviously, for context, Abel plays himself. He plays a artist, a musician, a global icon who is currently on a worldwide stadium tour. ironically, he is currently on a worldwide stadium tour. So it just fits in so perfectly. And really quick, I'm going to just pinpoint this. The absolute clever, strategy, the planning of him starting his tour a week before this movie was said to be released. So his tour starts 2 weeks ago. And then the movie gets dropped 1 week later. So he takes a brief break from touring to go to premieres and to promote and get everybody to go see the movie and all that good stuff. The movie takes place in the middle of his tour. So it's kind of like we're seeing what's happening in the background of the tour while he's on tour. Still, he's actively on tour, and that's where the movie takes place, while he's actively on tour. So it's kind of like we're seeing inside the realm of what he's actively dealing with while he's actively on tour. So it was very well thought out. It was very strategically planned. And I appreciate that. So the movie begins with his opening night, and it was phenomenal. I felt like I was at the concert, sitting in the movies, watching it. His vocals were on point. You can tell that he was singing live. He was walking around the stage. He was doing his thing. He was showing out. It was great. And then it cuts to a point where he's on the plane. He's on to the next date, and he's very, very distraught, and he's very, very, emotionally severed. He's disconnected. He's disassociated is the better word that I can use. And I guess this character, his name is Lee. He's played by Barry Keoghan. He plays like the role of the ass-kissing assistant. He's the one who's kind of keeping Abel on his toes and making sure that he's on time for everything, and that he's ready to go, and that he's good, and that he's, hyped up. He's kind of like that backup plan guy. But another thing that I noticed about Lee is that he represents in a physical form the toxic lifestyle that Abel is trying to work through. So you see him after the show, they're at a nightclub, they're drinking, they're partying, they're dancing, they're surrounded by women. They go back to their hotel, there's food, there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's sex, there's all types of just toxic, dangerous, unbalanced chaos just happening all around them. And Lee is in the center of all of that. He's the one snorting cocaine. He's the one making all these sexual advances. He's the one drinking all the alcohol, pouring it on people. He's doing all of the crazy rock star lifestyle stuff. Meanwhile, Abel is in the suite, the room, the bedroom of the hotel, like playing a melodic song on this little traveling keyboard that he has. While they're on the plane going on to their next stop, he looks over at Lee and he's like, "Did you call her? Have you talked to her? Give her a call for me real quick." Obviously implying that he's still recovering from a very bad breakup. Abel's looking on his phone, and he's going through pictures and no text messages. He's trying to call back, text, no response. Lee gives the number a call. It goes straight to voicemail. It just rings and rings and rings. And this was like one of the first moments in the movie where you can see the acting kind of come through from The Weeknd. So he gets really, really emotional, but it's not like that over dramatized, boohoo babble baby crying emotional. It's that I'm trying to keep it together, and I don't want everyone around me to know that I'm breaking down, but I'm breaking down. And he's crying, but it's not like a blubbering. His eyes welled very, very full, like to the rim. And he never lets the tears fall. He just kind of gets it off of his face, and Lee's looking right at him. He's like, "Man, don't worry about that. You're doing great. Everything's fine. Everything's going to be okay." Trying to be the voice of reason when really he's part of the problem. The next scene they show is he's at the doctor. He's getting his throat looked at. He's like, "There's something wrong with my voice." And the doctor is like, "You just need rest. You're overworking yourself. It's not so much a physical injury, quote unquote, but more of a psychological one. It's all in your head. You just need to rest up. You just need to try to de-stress, try to relax, and just give it some time and you'll be fine." Okay, great. We get to the next show. And this is another great moment where his acting really kind of shines through. He is breaking down. I mean, breaking down to the point where it's hard to watch. He is distraught. He is angry. He is sad. He is all of these negative emotions, and he's screaming at Lee, I can't go out there. I'm not going out there. Cancel the show. I'm not doing it. I can't sing. I'm not okay. Everything is wrong. I can't do this. He's very, very distraught. And Lee comes in there and he's like, look, man, this is for you. This is all for you. We're all here for you. You're not a regular human being. You're not just a regular guy. You're a superhero. You're a superstar. And all those people are out there to see you. Again, trying to be the voice of reason, but is not listening to what Abel is saying. So it's conflicting. And of course, he pulls out some coke in a little baggie and he puts it on his knuckle or whatever you put coke at on your hand and snort it, but he snorts it. He gives some to Abel. Abel snorts. He tries to like hype him up, bang it on his chest. You got this, bro. You got this. We're here for you. We all here for you. We love you. We're going to help you. But it's like you're not helping him. You're feeding in to this toxicity. You're giving him drugs. You're trying to force him to do something that he's already said that he doesn't want to do. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking about Jenna Ortega's character, which I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. So he gets out on stage. He's not okay. The first scene at the concert, the opening night scene, he was A1 on his game. Perfect, flawless, spot on. Everything was great. This time, he's sluggish. He's sweating, pouring sweat. He can't even stand. He's wobbling. He's crackling his voice. He can't keep eye contact with anybody. He's not singing any of the words. And when he does try to sing, his voice cracks. And it cracks like shattered glass. It cracks like splitting twigs. It cracks like the gates of hell are opening up. It is awful. And I felt so bad watching it because I know, and he has said this a zillion, billion, trillion times in interviews and everything else, that entire clip, that entire scene was based off of something that actually happened to him in real life. It was the SoFi in Los Angeles. It was the end of his first leg of the After Hours Till Dawn tour before this one. And he walks out on stage and he starts to sing and his voice just gives out. And he stops everything. And he speaks into the microphone. You guys, I'm so sorry. I can't sing. I have to call the show tonight. My voice is gone. And the audience just starts booing him. And I'm sitting there. At first, when this first happened, I was vindictive about it because I was like, oh, you canceled your tour in Nashville and I really wanted to go see it. I was petty because I'm a petty person. But looking at that scene and seeing it from his perspective was the most devastating thing I probably could have witnessed in my life. And I just felt like a total asshole for giving him shit about it. But it was awful. It was awful. And so he goes into the back and he starts crashing out. Well, I skipped a part. I'm sorry. Before he goes out on stage, he gets his cell phone and he's trying to call his ex. And he is like, I don't even remember what I said to you that made me, because the entire time he's trying to talk to his ex, a voicemail that she left is playing in the background saying, I can't believe that you would do something like this to me. How can you say that you love me and you hurt me this way and you said those things to me? Your mother would be so upset to know that you treated me this way. You deserve to be alone forever. That whole voicemail is playing back and forth. So he leaves her a voicemail saying, please call me back. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you. Just whatever. Please, I just need to talk to you. Right before he goes on stage to do this devastating show, he's crashing out. His team is trying to get him ready. They're putting his clothes on, his makeup, and picking out his hair. And he's on the phone actively crashing out. And this was another peak moment of his acting versatility because he's screaming on the phone. He's crying. This is where he's no longer holding back the fact that he's upset. And he's boo-hoo crying and super crashing out. And he's calling her all types of, you bitch this, you bitch that. I'm a legend. I'm an icon. People are going to remember me. People are going to always love me. No one knows you. No one's going to remember you. You're forgettable. You're replaceable. And all of this crazy stuff. And it's just like, bro, what is going on? And that's like the peak of his toxicity is happening in that moment. So right after that, when he goes on the stage and his voice cracks, it's like that ironic punishment of being this awful, heinous, evil person. And now you're getting a chance to reap what you sow. So that happens. He runs off stage. He goes back to the back. He changes out of his performance clothes and into some street clothes. He grabs a bag and all of his stuff, and he just walks out. Lee is like, come on, dude, open the door. It's me. It's me. I'm your brother. You can trust me. He's like, no, I tried to tell you and you wouldn't listen. I tried to tell you and you wouldn't listen. It's such a powerful statement because you're part of the problem. Lee is a part of the problem. You're the reason why this is happening to me. It's blaming somebody. I'm going to blame you because I told you and you didn't listen. So he storms out of the dressing room. He's leaving like, no, don't follow me. Nobody follows me. I'm out of here. And then he runs into Jenna Ortega's character. Jenna Ortega's character comes in at an old house. Her opening scene is she's at an old house and she has this big thing of gasoline and she's just pouring it everywhere on everything. She lights the house on fire and she drives away. You see her again at a gas station attempting to refill this giant gasoline tank. She manages to do so, drives away unscathed. She getting, phone calls from her mom, and she got like her ticket notification to see the Weeknd's concert. She's at the show where his voice cracks, and right when it does, they make eye contact with each other. And so when she runs into him backstage, he was like, hey, I saw you out there. Do you want to come with me? And she's like, yeah. So they leave. And I feel like Jenna Ortega's character is that of the obsessive fan trope where she is just beyond infatuated with Abel. She's beyond, obsessed. It is an uncontrollable, unhealthy attachment to him as a person, not just as an artist. And she, in my opinion, represents the foundation of his original fan base. Those fans who have been with him since the very beginning, have watched his progression over the last decade or so, and have become, dedicated enough to where they feel like they can speak on his name on a personal level. Which is, in retrospect, the most insane thing on planet Earth, because you don't know this person in real life. You have no idea who they are behind closed doors, out of the spotlight, and just on their day off. You have no idea. But that's the level of obsession that she is at. So that's where she is when she meets him. Now, the beautiful thing about them meeting each other like this is that when they do leave the venue, she just takes him on like a little, okay, what do you want to do? So they go to like this carnival. They go to like this, this little amusement park. They're playing games. They're, drinking drinks, but like good drinks, and they're eating good food, and they're just relax. It's such a peaceful and relaxing, situation. The vibes are good. The company is great. There's no stress. There's no peer pressure. It's kind of like a Halloween theme carnival, so everyone's in costume, so they wear masks to kind of cover their face because, again, he's the Weeknd. He can't just be seen out in public. But at some point he takes the mask off and he can just exist amongst these regular average people after being told, oh, you're not an ordinary person. You're not a regular person. You're like a superhuman being who's capable of doing superhuman things that other people don't have, the luxury of possessing the ability to do. He can breathe for like the first time, maybe ever in his life, in this moment with Jenna Ortega's character. And I think her name is Anime. I don't know. Anima, I can't pronounce it. They wrote it. I read it in the end credits and I wrote it down, but I can't pronounce it. He says Omni or something like that, but that's it. Anyway, that's not important. That's not important. We're just gonna call it Jenna Ortega. So they're doing that. They're having a great time. They're so chill. There's no weird like sexual tension either. You think that they're gonna try to put the two of them together romantically. It's none of that. It's just pure comfort, vulnerability, and I can let my guard down and just breathe. I can really, truly, honestly just relax. That's how he feels when he is with her in this particular scene. So they leave the carnival. They go back to the hotel. Lee's outside the hotel trying to call, and he's not answering the phone. He tells the driver, let's go somewhere else. Let's go to another hotel. So they go to another hotel. Abel and Jenna Ortega are in the other hotel room, and he's playing her the song that he's been playing on his piano, which we know is Hurry Up Tomorrow, the actual song, Hurry Up Tomorrow. Just a couple of snippets of the lyrics. She starts crying. And this is what really grinded my gears. She tells him this pathetic little sob story. Oh, it was just me and my mom for a while, and she had to move around and this, that, and I'm listening to her talk, and I'm thinking to myself, bro, that's his origin story. The literal story that she gave him, it was just me and my mom. I don't really know my dad too well, and she had to do everything for us. She moved us around all the time, and she was just my main provider. And then one day I just left home and never came back. That is his story. That is what he did. I'm thinking to myself, bro, you are just repeating his story back to him because he can relate to that. That's what he's done. He's dealt with that in his life. You know what I mean? So I just felt like that was kind of cheating. They do get really, really close. They hug for a really, really long time. And again, it doesn't imply any type of weird sexual tension, but there's definitely some intimacy there. It's not physical, but it's more emotional intimacy, if that makes sense. So they're there. It's the next morning. He wakes up. He checks his phone. He's got all these missed calls from his mom, his management team. The news is like, The Weeknd left stage at the concert and blah, blah, blah. He's getting all of these notifications. Jenna Ortega in the shower was singing. She's singing lyrics from Hurry Up Tomorrow, but not the lyrics that he presented to her, like different parts of the song, but she's just singing, just to be singing. So she gets out of the shower, he's getting his stuff together, and she's like, so what's the next move? Where are you off to next? And he was like, I don't know, I think Australia or something like that. And she's like, oh, I always wanted to go to Australia. And he's like, yeah, you should go sometime. I'm like, obviously not interested in maintaining this little bugaboo situation, but she's oblivious to it. So he starts to leave. He starts to leave. And this part right here that I'm about to get into is the one part that everybody on the internet is talking about right now. He's trying to leave. It's like 4:00 in the afternoon. He's like, okay, well, I got to go to my doctor to make sure that my voice is okay. And then I have to meet up with my management team, and we got to catch a flight, and we got to go to the next city. So I'm about to go do that. And she's like, what? Wait, you're leaving? You can't leave. What about last night? And he was like, well, that was beautiful, but we can't really, you can't come with me. Like, I have work to do. And she's like, but you told me never to leave you. So why would you leave me and not take me with you? That doesn't make any sense. So she starts freaking out. And she says the thing that the obsessive fan says to their idol, to their icon, when again, you don't know this person. So for you to say this is insane. I don't want you to hurt yourself. I'm trying to help you. You won't let me help you. I'm trying to make sure that you're okay. I care about you. And he, I can't even say it. Because people on the internet are petty. They were like, he was like, bro, shut the fuck up. Shut up. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? I'm getting calls. I'm on a tour. I have to go. And what makes me laugh, and I'm not even going to hold you. I giggled. I laughed because it did make me laugh. I thought it was funny. But what made me laugh was, and this is the issue that people have with this particular scene. And they were like, oh my God, The Weeknd can't act. Completely just just completely washing over the other 5 like phenomenal acting scenes that we just got. Those crash out scenes, those, moments of vulnerability, him singing on stage at the shows, all of those scenes were beautiful. But this one scene got everybody in a chokehold because it's so hard to take him seriously. And it's not the way he presented the lines. I think he presented the lines well. I think the way that he delivered them were accurate. Like, lady, this is not, be for real. Let's just be realistic for a second. We were together all night last night. We were together for a little bit this morning, but I have work to do. I have to go. I'm sorry. But he was like, I'm trying to be nice. You see me trying to do a good thing. But that's real. Like, I can't stay here with you and you can't come with me. No, I have to go. What are you talking about? Like, the delivery was spot on. The reaction was accurate. Everything about it was realistic enough to be believable. But the thing that made it unbelievable or unrealistic was his actual voice. His speaking voice is so soft and so fluffy and so whipped creamed that he can't deliver aggression without sounding like a 13-year-old boy. Like, it's really, really hard to take his speaking voice seriously because he sings and speaks in the same tone, in the same octave. So it's just unconvincing because his voice is so soft. And my brother was like, it's kind of like when Prince did Purple Rain, because Prince speaking voice is very, very soft and it's very, very whipped creamed and it's very, very angelic. But when he was in Purple Rain, the movie, and he started cussing and going all crazy, couldn't nobody take that serious either because his voice isn't powerful enough to deliver that aggression believably. And you can't argue that it's not there. It's definitely there. It was absolutely there. It just doesn't sound believable because he doesn't sound like an aggressive type of person. And I'm pretty sure he's not, but who knows? But I think that the comparison between Prince doing Purple Rain and The Weeknd doing Hurry Up Tomorrow are absolutely parallel because you had the movie, you had the album, and you had the artist playing themselves or a version of themselves in both. And there was a lot of underlined, messages and metaphorical use in the art that both artists try to parallel to each other. And I think that that should be taken into consideration. Also, if someone can find a clip from Purple Rain of Prince crashing out and then compare it to The Weeknd crashing out from Hurry Up Tomorrow, you can definitely see that those two things are intertwined with each other. But anyway, so he crashes out on her. He's yelling at her. He's like, I gotta go. He's walking out the door. She grabs a glass bottle of something and knocks him in the head with it. And he passes out. He falls back and he falls into a tub of water. And he wakes up, quote unquote. He wakes up and he's the start of the morning again. So he's checking his phone. Only this time, instead of getting a splurge of messages, it's just nothing. There's nothing there. There's no context. There's no phone calls. There's no messages from anything. It's just nothing. And he can hear her singing in the shower. He tries to go in there, but the shower is empty. He goes into the hotel lobby. The entire hotel is empty. He goes out onto the street, and the streets are completely desolate. There's nothing. So this is the moment where he kind of realized, okay, something is terribly wrong. Obviously, something is terribly wrong. So he runs back into the hotel, tries to go back upstairs to the room, but the hotel elevator takes him downstairs into the parking garage. And this is the part where I kind of started to I leaned in, if you will, because I was starting to get nervous. I don't know what's going on. He gets to P5 or something like that. He's at the bottom of the parking garage and he gets out, which mistake number one, I'm not getting out of the elevator. I'm staying in here until the doors close, until I go back. I'm not leaving the elevator, but he gets out. It's a tunnel, like a train tunnel. And he walks out into, he got his flashlight on, and off in the distance is somebody crouched down, hunched over. And it's a woman, and she's crying and blubbering. And and again, you can see it on his face, how convincing he is with his acting abilities, which it blows me that people think that he can't do it. So he's walking up very, very hesitantly to this figure, this woman crouched down on the ground, and then she jumps up. She's 7-8 feet, Skeletor, like the mochi looking hair, looking like something out of a horror movie. Scares the holy crap out of me. And chases him down the end of the tunnel. So now he's running for his life from this thing. She corners him and she's kind of clawing at him like this. And he's freaking out. He's crying. He's scared. He's holding his screams back. And then he wakes up and he's back in the hotel room. He's bound to the bed. The back of his head is busted open. It's bleeding. It's got blood all over the pillows. He's sweating profusely. General Ortega got him tied up with the phone cord and some stockings and just some other stuff. And she's looking at him I'm really, really sorry. I didn't want to do this. I just wanted you to talk to me. I wanted to help you and you're not letting me help you. And he's like, bro, what is going on? Get me out of here. What do you want? Do you want money? Do you want to come with me on the tour? We can do that. Let's just let me go. I have some place to be. Still not trying to hear it. Ironically, right? Because when it came to Lee not listening to him and now he's not listening to her, it's this full circle effect thing. So then she does some crazy fangirl stuff and she starts playing his music back to him and she's analyzing it. And she plays Blinding Lights first. And she was like, this song is really, poppy and upbeat, but the lyrics are deeper. You're talking about how you want to, escape from the reality and fight off your demons, and you're trying to hide from yourself. You're trying to hide from the world and this, that, and the third. I wonder what your inspiration was behind it, and implying that the song was written around the time his breakup became public with the woman that he's been obsessed with throughout this entire movie. So that she's implying that the song is dedicated to that essential relationship, and he used it as an escape or a coping mechanism to kind of deal with that issue. And he's not confirming or denying anything, but you can see it again in his face that he's distraught and that he is not okay and that he is feeling like she's on to something, you know what I mean? And then she moves on to the next song. She moves on to Gasoline. I love Gasoline. So and I think that's ironic because that's kind of her weapon of choice. She uses gasoline and fire as a weapon. You saw it in the beginning when she burnt the house down. And she was saying how that song for him should have been a really popular song. It should have been much more popular than it was. But a lot of people didn't even like it. A lot of people didn't even watch the music video. And, at this time, at this point in your life, you were dealing with X, Y, and Z. I wonder what the inspiration for this song was. And she's breaking him down. She's analyzing him. And it's so powerful because he knows that she's right. He knows how spot on accurate everything that she's saying is. But he's still in denial because he doesn't want her to be correct about it. Then they hear a knock on the door. She was like, I'm about to play you another song, but then they hear a knock on the door. He starts screaming. She takes a pillow, covers his face up with it. And then she goes to the hotel door, and it's Lee. He leaves like, I tracked his location. I know that he's here. Let me in. I need to make sure that he's okay. Whoopty, whoopty, whoop. Of course, Jenna Ortega is lying. He's not here. He left his phone go away. He's not here. And Lee, thank God, breaks down the freaking door. And he's like trying to figure out what's going on. She's like throwing stuff at him. And then he hears the muffled screams coming from the room. And before he can run over to get the door open, she grabs him and they wrestle each other to the ground. He's trying to pin her down to keep her from attacking him or just to restrain her long enough to get to the door and get the door open. And then this, I was not prepared for this part. She takes a piece of broken glass. She takes a piece of broken glass and stabs him in the neck with it. And I'm like, oh my God, she just killed Lee. So he's bleeding out. And I'm just like, oh my God, she's a murderer. Obviously, she's crazy, but now she's killing people. How are you going to get him out of the room? Even if you accomplish what you plan on accomplishing with this hostage situation, you just killed somebody. So she opens up the door and she sits on the bed and she takes the gag out of his mouth because she gagged him. And he sees the blood all over her and just assumes the worst. So now she's like, this is the end. This is it. I can't do anything else. I done buried myself into a hole. So she gets the gasoline, which, and my brother said this Russia knows something was wrong. How did she get this big ass gasoline tank thing up all of these into this nice fancy hotel with nobody noticing? But she pours it all over the bed. She pours it all over his face. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, you are not about to light this man on fire. And before she can drop the lighter, he starts to sing. And he's singing Hurry Up Tomorrow. And it was the most passionate thing I had the opportunity to witness, because he is like, it took every emotion in his gut, bow, body, and soul to rip out this beautiful ballad. And he's crying, like actively boo-hoo crying. So when his voice cracks this time, it's not because of any type of stress, but it's because he's literally crying in front of her. And then she starts crying. And I think when you look at her face and she's listening to him sing, it's this moment of realization that's like, okay, I can see it now. My eye is open. I'm aware of the damage that I've done to myself, that I've done to you, that I've done to everyone, and everything around me is just falling into chaos. I can see that now. I have that moment of realization. And then you just see him walking out of, and this is the last little bit of the movie right here. You see him walking out of the hotel room, down the hall of the hotel. The room is on fire behind him. The room is burning. He walks through the hall. He's still really, really sweaty. and he hits the corner, and the corner is his getting ready dressing room for the tour. He goes in, his team is gathering his stuff. He got a couple of members of his entourage, like, playing the game in the background. They got drinks, they got food, they got all of this stuff. And he sits down in front of the vanity mirror, and it's the exact same opening scene or the opening clip from the beginning of the movie at the end of the movie. So it's like this full circle realization moment. And that's when I felt that unpinned satisfaction of having seen this film from start to finish. Because the same way that it opens with him sitting in front of his vanity, the big bright lights are on him and he's warming up for his show, it ends in the exact same position. We're on to the next show. We're on to the next. So in the midst of maybe shows 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4, we had this little journey of self-discovery. And the moments of realization kind of hit all at once, at separate points. And it just comes back to him being able to face himself. And then it dawned on me in that moment that freaking Jenna Ortega's character and Lee were internalized personas of what he's doing to himself. So the toxic lifestyle that Lee kind of pushes, the drugs, the alcohol, the parties, the women, all of that is internal. That is who the Weeknd is. The Weeknd goes out and does cocaine and drinks a lot of alcohol and sleeps with all these women and stays up until 4 a.m. and does all this crazy rock star lifestyle partying stuff. He also doesn't take care of himself. He also allows himself to succumb to emotional turmoil and psychological trauma from past relationships, from past performances. He holds on to these grudges and doesn't allow himself to heal properly. That is who the Weeknd is. Abel was with Jenna Ortega. Abel can breathe. He can relax. He can go out into the world and just live his life as a normal person. He can have fun. He can laugh. He can dance. He can do silly shit. He is able to, ironically, no pun intended, he is able to just be Abel. He can just be himself, and he doesn't feel any pressure or stress to be a certain type of version of himself. He can just relax. But when that persona of the relaxed lifestyle is trying to combat with the toxic lifestyle, they scuffle. They got into that altercation. They fought physically. And the relaxed lifestyle is trying to take out the toxic lifestyle so that Abel can still be Abel. So when she lights the room on fire, that was him burning away his former self. That was him literally reincarnating as a new version of himself. So when he goes back into the dressing room and sits down, he can start over, but starting over as a newer, better, cleaner, happier, healthier version of himself. It took a lot to get there, obviously. It was a lot of stress and a lot of turmoil and a lot of trauma and a lot of, psychological damage and emotional damage that was done. But now he's come out of it stronger, better, healthier, happier, more wholesome, more humble, more of himself. And that is the whole point of the movie and the album, is to say goodbye to that version of himself that was so dangerous, that was so toxic, that was so unhealthy. If you could have seen the way that he crashed out on this phone, and I will never get over that scene because it was moving. It moved me. I was moved by it. If you could see the amount of emotional and verbal abuse that he was pouring into that voicemail, man, and then he threw the phone and he broke the glass, and then he went out on stage and croaked, and it's just like, bro, what is going on? He had to leave that version of himself behind in order to be better. And that is exactly what he did. And dang it, I wish I could pull up the message that he posted on Instagram, because he posted a message. He was like, this is a letter to the fans on what this album meant to me, what this movie meant to me. I wanted you to see the person that I now am and who I have become. And it's because of you that I was able to come to this realization and grow as much as I have. This isn't the end, but it's a new beginning. I am reborn. That is what he said. So for people to, and I'm sorry I'm getting so upset, but for people to really say that they don't appreciate what he's done as far as the artistic expression that he's created is absolutely bonkers bananas to me. I'm not being biased. If the movie was bad, I would have said it was bad. Did some of it make me laugh when it wasn't supposed to? Of course it did. Did I not take some of the, angrier scenes seriously? Of course I did, because it's funny. It made me laugh. But you can't deny that all of this plays a much bigger role in the story that he's trying to tell. And the whole reason why I even do what I do in the first place is because he's such a phenomenal storyteller and has been since the beginning. That was one of the reasons why I became a fan, because lyrically, he was able to push out things that I've never heard an artist to say. So now he's making movies. Now he's acting, and he's showing you that he has this versatility and he's able to express in ways that maybe we can't comprehend, or maybe we just can't comprehend at the moment, because again, it's just, a matter of wills, and it should be taken into consideration. But that was the entire point of the movie. He is rebranding. He's not just rebranding himself. He is reborn. He is telling us a new version of himself. And even in interviews that I've seen, he doesn't even know what that new version looks like. He doesn't even know what it is just yet. He just knows that it's not what it was. And what it was toxic. It was awful. It was unhealthy. It was unhinged. It was unorthodox. And we're going to get a new version of whatever that man is moving forward. So with that being the case, as the tour kind of progresses and goes through its thing, we get to say our farewells to this particular character, but we're not saying farewell to the individual who created it, because I guarantee you that if it's possible that he can create a character with this much emotional backstory and this much of an emotional chokehold on his entire fan base. Because think about how powerful you got to be to even get a stadium tour in the first place. Not too many people can pull that off, and he sells out every single show. So just think about that in the realms of, this is a phenomenal character, and the person who created it is an even more phenomenal person, because they have the creative umps to even put a character like that together and make it successful for over a decade. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. And we're getting the opportunity to see glimpses into how that character was forged. And we're also getting the privilege of seeing what's to come. And that's my 2 cents on Hurry Up Tomorrow, the movie. And again, it was great. I absolutely enjoyed it. I loved it. I would go see it again if I was the type of person that saw movies multiple times in theaters, but I'm not. But I would. And I just can't wait to see what comes next. I'm looking forward to seeing how the future pans out for him. And of course, I'm going to the show in August, and I can't wait for that either, because I'm sure it's going to be great. But even still, it's a farewell. It's a final goodbye. So that's the most important thing. But thank you for those who decided to tune in with me today. And until next time, I will speak to you all later. Yes.